This man posted his wild receipt from a hostess club in Tokyo, Japan, where he spent $22,000 in a single night, and it caught a lot of attention, with some people saying it was a scam and some people saying these are normal charges for a hostess club. So here's exactly what happened. His biggest expense was spending 1.8 million yen or $12,000 on French champagne to enjoy with the hostess Sakuragi Haru. This champagne, probably Haru's favorite because I'm sure she makes a ton of money enjoying it with her patrons, is Armand de Brianc. It's partially owned by Jay-Z, and they're selling it for $4,000 a bottle here. This usually sells for $600 to $700 a bottle in Japan for retail price, so a 6 times markup or so is not considered a scam level of a markup for most hostess clubs. Now, the main other charge, of course, is just the time spent in the lounge with the hostesses. It's a 1-hour charge with 30-minute extensions. So these 12 hours worth of charges show he was probably there with 4 different people and 4 different hostesses, which many do say is not scam prices. Regardless, watch out for these places if you think this is a scam. This man posted his suspicious receipt from a restaurant in Tokyo asking if he had gotten scammed, and yes, he had. Here is why, and basically how you can avoid this happening to you. His total converted to US currency comes out to $231, which is not a bad price for all you can drink for 90 minutes for 4 people. But all you can drink was advertised as $13 per person. These other charges are wild. Otoshi is a cover charge to enter the place. It's $7 a person. That's pretty normal. If it's a cool atmosphere, the first thing I check is if the atmosphere is worth the cover charge. But Sekiryo is a seating charge, which is also $7 a person. That seems redundant. Next is Shumatsu Ryokin. That's a charge for every person because it was the weekend. I think suspicious. There's also Shinya Ryokin, which is a late night charge of 15% and a card charge. 10% more because they used a credit card, and 15% service charge, which you should usually only get at like a high-end place in Tokyo or like a concept cafe or like a cosplay bar or something. All of that together is definitely fraudulent, especially if it was not advertised. So always ask if there are charges. I always do, and people are required to tell you. Also, this post said that they followed a man from the street who was asking them if they were looking for a place for drinks. Especially in Shinjuku, that's a very good rule of something not to do if you don't want a billion strange charges. It could be cool, and I actually did work myself part-time on the street advertising for a place to bring people in. A legitimate place, but it's a good rule, especially in Shinjuku, to only go into bars that you have looked into before or something. Or are like recommended by a friend, or by me. So watch out for these places. Japan's controversy over the popular video game Assassin's Creed has gotten people in the country upset to the point where the actual prime minister has spoken up against it. But why? In the game, you play as a samurai in a very detailed recreation of 16th century Japan. The issues come from in-game events that prompt you to do very culturally disrespectful things like rob the tomb of the emperor. End-game features that allow you to do things like destroy culturally significant shrines and temples that still exist to this day. These shrines and temples are places that people currently own and depend on for their livelihood, and places of strong significance to local communities. They're saying that Ubisoft allows you to do these things while marketing their game as being roughly historically accurate, without teaching of any of the cultural significance or even in-game repercussions. Government officials also bring up that since there have been real-life incidents of tourists being disrespectful in similar ways, like climbing on torii gates and carving their names into shrines, it's actually a pretty relevant thing to speak on if these things are being propagated in popular Western fiction. There's a lot of chaos online about this, but do you think it's an issue? Japan's prime minister getting upset over a video game allowing offensive actions in its depiction of 16th century Japan actually just led to the video game making changes. The game is Assassin's Creed Shadows, and on day 1 of its release, its creator Ubisoft removed the controversial features. 2 examples being, you can no longer destroy temple and shrine structures, and the removal of some fighting features within temple and shrines. And from what I could tell, these were the 2 main issues that people took issue with. And you can see in-game text makes efforts to educate players on the cultural significance of these things. Like here it says, preserve the sanctity of the torii gates by not climbing on them. This addresses a main issue voiced by Japanese politicians that disrespectful actions in-game very much mirror real-life incidences that caused commotion, like the influencer who was called out for doing pull-ups on a torii gate for their video. It very much reflects a long-standing debate that spans generations and country borders about how much video games affect people's real-life actions. Do you think this issue has been solved, or how big of an issue this was to begin with? If there was one thing I did not want this year, it was the Megaquake announcement from Japan's government. But we got it, so let me share with you the chilling details. They recently announced that there's an 80% chance within the next 30 years of an 8 to 9 magnitude earthquake in the Nankai Trough off the coast of Japan. This would affect 10 plus prefectures and of course trigger a tsunami that would have upwards of 30-meter waves. If adequate preventative measures are not taken, 300,000 people would likely be harmed, or worse, 1.2 million people would have to evacuate. And of course this would decimate the economy, more so than it already is, with a projected loss loss of 270 trillion yen. The news even had all these scary animations like from an old disaster movie. But the goal of these videos are always to encourage you to travel even after all that. So some preventative measures. Make sure you have some sort of earthquake early warning system on your phone like the NERV disaster prevention program. And look into registering your trip with your country's embassy before you travel so that they can quickly assist you in the event of anything like this happening. This came out recently, but no one I know in Tokyo is panicking. I think preparation for seismic events is just something people often get used to. I have the full video of this linked on my page with 2 separate recent government announcements in Japan of disasters, as well as why they're currently ill-prepared to assist travelers. If you check it out, it would mean a lot to me. Thank you so much.
So Japan's government has created its own very thorough dating app and hopes to combat the country's largest problem, which is that not enough people are making babies. And it might not be immediately evident on your trip to Tokyo, but many smaller rural towns in Japan are already on the verge of disappearing, many already ghost towns due to an aging population, with over 9 million abandoned homes already. So with taxpayer money and largely spearheaded by the Tokyo metropolitan government, Tapple, the dating app, was created to help solve this problem. But why is this facing so much criticism? First, this app is wild and points for connecting people more on their hobbies and personality and less on their photos, but to create an account you have to upload a photo ID, proof of your income so people know how much money you make, and your family registry so people know that you're actually single, so there's no catfishing here at all. Overbearing, yes, but if you ever met up with a date online and they just don't look like their photo or they're not who they say they are, then this is fine in my opinion. But the criticism comes from whether or not this will solve the problem, which I actually tend to agree with. A sizable vocal amount of citizens, many of my friends included, which may make my views on this kind of biased, believe that the heart of the problem of the declining birth rate is not at all that it's hard to meet someone or hard to find someone to date. My years in Japan lead me to agree. It seems like people are dating always everywhere. The issue is the financial constraints many of the recent generations face when starting a family, and especially occupational restrictions for women expected to start a family. Like, a girl might not get a promotion if she's married because the management expects her to quit the company and become a full-time mother at some point. Even though that has been addressed by recent legislation, old systems don't fade away so easily. So the criticism is that the taxpayers' money should have been put more towards solving those issues. But let me know what you think. Again, a whole country's top minds are putting their heads together to solve this, so it's not like there's an easy answer. Some of my more rambunctious friends say that it's just too fun being single in Tokyo also. But I don't think anyone sees that as an issue or taking that as a political stance.
What is the recent wild popular diet trend in Japan that helps you lose weight very quickly and its issues? This is Tansan. In Tansan is a soda that almost consistently becomes sold out as soon as it hits the market because of how effective it is with getting rid of people's hunger. So basically, Tansan is a carbonated beverage that solidifies into jelly in your stomach, tricking you into thinking that you are full. Because of this, perpetually drinking Tansan has been reported to dramatically help people cut down on the amount of food that they eat if they're trying to diet. I was sent a lot of articles asking me about this drink to the point where I definitely had to research it, but it wasn't until I asked some of my friends and coworkers in Tokyo who work in fashion marketing and modeling that I heard about some of its issues. Basically, while it does very much give you a feeling of fullness for a couple hours, the jelly that it makes in your stomach very obviously does not have any nutrients. So basically, people that habitually rely on this drink as a form of synthetic fasting do rapidly lose weight, but also suffer various health benefits that are akin to being malnourished, like kind of a gaunt look and fairly unhealthy hair, apparently. So interesting, but be careful. Finally, some happy news from Japan. After about a week of me researching spooky cults and tourist arrests in the country, let me now tell you about sad, crying onigiri cartoons that are combating Japan's food waste issue. Last month, convenience stores in Japan tried an experiment where they put this sticker on their discounted onigiri that was at the end of its shelf life, attempting to speak to the consumer's heart, sell more discounted onigiri, and reduce food waste. And it worked. That store's onigiri purchase rate increased by 5 points, which I don't really know what that means, but if that continues nationally, it can reduce the food waste by 3,000 tons per year in Japan. It says "tasukete kudasai," which means "please help me," and this moved people. Onigiri is only supposed to be on the shelves of convenience stores about 18 hours after it's made, and after that it becomes discounted. I often buy it when it is, and I'll buy it even more if I see this and feel bad for it. Let's all hope we see this crying onigiri all over Japan soon.